Hello everybody, Mark back here at the hangar with our wonderful Seamax, and today we start the next phase of work on the aircraft and its repair. We're going to work on the putty underneath the aircraft now and mix up some epoxy with micro balloons in it and lay that on top of our prepared fiberglass finish in there, and this will give us the final shape of the hull so we can go ahead and advance to priming and painting. Pretty excited to be at this stage. Let's get going. Well, look who showed up today for the work at the hangar.
To sweat.
Again, she's suffering too. It's pretty hot and humid here at the hangar. But we did get an opportunity to mix up our micro balloon and epoxy putty material and get the first layer of that applied to the bottom of the aircraft. So that's drying off right now, and my next couple of days off I'll be able to come back and do some sanding. So what do you think so far?
I think it's really hot in here.
Yeah.
And that air conditioning in there is great, but there's only room for one person in there, so I'm just the one that goes and runs all the errands.
That's right. It's nice to have Margie back.
I'm back.
She's my favorite person in the world.
My favorite guy.
So, honey, why did you leave yesterday at the hangar?
I'm a little swollen.
She got a little bitten up by fire ants. Ooh.
Got me good.
Yep. Yikesies. Okay, so we got the first layer of putty on, and unfortunately I didn't capture any video of it because I made the camera malfunction. But anyways, it is on. We've allowed it to dry, and let's take a look at it. It's the very first rough, heavy layer put on here. Today I'm going to sand this back and clean it up and probably put on our second coat. I'm not sure how many is going to be required. It's really going to be dependent on what I see after I finish the sanding here. So I'm going to suit up and get to work, and we'll go from there. Okay, so sanding came out pretty well of the first layer of putty here. You can see we're getting a decent profile. It's still a little, misaligned there, but that was the first layer. Probably the biggest difficulty is down at the very keel right here. It still needs to be built up a bit, so be working on that, as well as filling in the rest of the little voids that we have along the edges here. But otherwise I'm pretty happy with the results of the first layer, so we're going to go ahead and clean this up, mix up another batch, and put on a separate layer. Back to work. Here we go. Okay, so today when we're going to apply our next layer of putty to the bottom of the aircraft, I just want to show you in a little bit more detail the work that goes into it in terms of mixing up our epoxy and then adding the micro balloons to it to spread on the bottom of the aircraft. So initially we're going to mix up some epoxy in a simple plastic cup on a kitchen scale, and we're going to use the epoxy base with a hardener, and it's a 100 to 40 ratio. We're just going to do it by weight in grams, and that'll give me about 140 grams worth of material, probably about half one of these plastic cups. We'll add it to our mixing container after that, and with one of the rubber spreaders we'll slowly keep adding in some of the micro balloons until we mix this into a consistency that's similar to peanut butter or drywall, and then we can clean off the bottom of the aircraft with a 99% isopropyl alcohol solution, and then once that's wiped down and clean, we can apply our new putty to the bottom of the aircraft. All right, let's get started. So I'll just turn the scale on with the tare. It's reading in grams, shows 0 here. We're going to use 100 grams of the epoxy base. Okay, it's 100, 101, close enough. Put that aside. Then we'll use our hardener, 40 parts to the 100 parts here. And this is what adds the actual light blue color to it as well. All right, showing 142 grams there. That's good, close enough for what we need. Put this aside. When you first start mixing the epoxy and the hardener together, you can notice that it's got kind of a layered effect right now, and as you stir it with a wooden stir stick, it'll get a little streaky, and that's what we want to get out of there. Generally about 100 times around does the trick. It gets any of the opaqueness out of it, gets a good mix together, no more streaks, it's just a uniform light blue color. I can tell you're going to make a mess with this too. I certainly did. You're going to drip it all over the floor when you're working with it as well. And then you're going to sit in it while you're working, and you're going to glue your pants to your butt like I did. Fun times. You can see a few streaks in here still, has a little bit of separation to it. Make sure I'm spinning the cup as I go as well, get down on the corners. Make sure we're just getting a good mix of the entire material to make sure we're not leaving any spots where it's going to stay liquid or not cure very well. We want it to have a nice uniform cure when it's done. So, all right. Now that we've got that mixed, you can see it's nice and uniform in color and consistency, and a little bit of bubbles in there. Use the same stick to mix the micro balloons in. Pour this into our mixing container. Get all that out there, as much of it as we can. Alright, we'll put this aside in case we need to mix more if we're running a little short. Now, since this stuff, the micro balloons are actually tiny little balloons of glass, since these are going to go into the mix here, it's going to create some dust, and these things are very bad for your lungs and for your eyes. So I'm going to be putting on some eye protection as well as breathing protection to keep these out of my eyes and out of my lungs. And I'm also going to put on some gloves so that if I get anything on my hands, it's not going to be an issue. There we go. It's open. Breathing protection going on. And eye protection. I know it's probably going to be a little tough for you to hear me with the mask on, but I'll do my best. So now we're just going to start adding some micro balloons into the matrix. Put a couple of scoopfuls in first, and then we'll mix that up. See what kind of consistency we end up with. You can see it's very, very powdery. It's a very, very light powder, but they're actually little balloons of glass. And you can see at this rate, it's very much a still a liquid. So we're going to add more. And for anyone who has ever mixed any concrete, it's very similar to that, a little bit at a time, because once you hit a certain point, it gets very, very dry very, very rapidly, so you don't want to get it overly dry. It's thickening up a little bit, but it's still quite watery. If I get it off the edges, you can see that it just pours, so we need more dry material. Alright, we're starting to get there now. So it's still a little runny. There we go. It's definitely turning into more of a paste. You see it doesn't pour. So that now it's more like a peanut butter texture. It's a paste or a putty. Beautiful. That's exactly what we're looking for there. Bit of a... It's exactly what we're looking for. The kind of puttiness to it. Alright. If memory serves me right, this is a 1 pound
container of micro balloons. Now that that's away,
we can take off our protective stuff, other than the gloves. And we've got a good matrix of material here to work with. What I'm going to do now is get underneath the aircraft and clean off the bottom with some 99% isopropyl alcohol solution, and that'll give me a nice clean surface to work with. All right, I'm going to crawl underneath there, clean it off, and we'll get started. Okay, now that we've cleaned up the bottom of the airplane with the alcohol solution, you can see gaps and dropouts and scratches and nicks. Down here you can see a little of the fabric underneath, as well as, again, more, dropouts and imperfections along the way here. And we're just going to work on filling all of that in, building up this whole area at the very back corner. So as you can see, I've built up quite a bit around the keel corner here. That will cut back quite a bit with sanding the next time around, but I'll show you in a little bit more detail. Putting some of this stuff on, and some of the scratched areas. This is not part of the damage from the gear up landing, it's damage to the area from pulling up on beaches and things like that. So I'm just spreading and cutting in and getting some fill in those areas that I can then sand back later. See, they're filled in now. And I'm not being too particular. I just want to get a relatively smooth application. The idea is to just fill and sand, fill and sand, fill and sand. That's it. Spreading with these things, you can see you make quite a bit of a mess. I'm going to go ahead and clean this stuff up now, because I think I've got everything on here that I need to for our second layer. We'll come back in a day or two and sand this stuff out. All right, now that we have that second layer of putty on, it's time to sand it down. Let's get going. Big shout out to everybody who does this kind of work. We're back at it. I've been underneath the airplane today sanding down the second layer of putty work that we did, and getting ready to put the next layer on. And it's really hot, and even with the AC underneath the aircraft, I'll tell you, it's a tough bit of work. I have a new appreciation for the people who do this kind of work professionally on a day-to-day basis. We're going to get back at it hopefully after another session or two here in the hangar. We'll be ready for primer and paint, so stay tuned. Take a look at the work that we've got done so far, and we'll be back at it. Special guest today, Havana. She's a crack safety advocate for aviation and an ace inspector, so she's going to take a look at my airplane and let me know how well I'm doing on the work. What do you think so far? Have I done a good job?
Pretty sure you're getting the work there, but I think you're getting it.
Yep, I need to definitely do some more work, and hopefully after today's sanding we'll be ready for primer and paint. Havana and the rest of her family came over to stay with us from the west coast of Florida. Have you had fun so far since you've been over here when you came up last night?
Yeah, I love my cat. I love you guys.
Tell us about your cat. What's your cat's name?
Tiffany, she's 1 year old.
Aww.
And she's like adorable.
She is adorable. She's a white, perfectly white, fluffy cat. We'll show you a picture of her here, and you'll get to love her too. She's a darling to have around. We're going to get back to work. Havana's going to help me. Havana, thanks for being part of this today.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Glad having you. High five. Oh, I thought you were going to deep me on that one. She usually pulls her hand away at the last minute.
Yeah.
Well, after our third layer of putty, was sanded back, I realized that we had a couple of areas that we just needed to touch up, so we're going to go ahead and do that right now.
What you got there?
I have epoxy and microballoon mixture together, making our putty for the bottom to fill all the holes.
So this is basically filling in all the little pinholes that might be left here and there. So there was one up higher. Did you get it? It's very delicate work, isn't it?
It is. So you can see how this is cut in here. There's a little shallow spot where I want to fill.
So you'll just have to do one more layer, one more sanding,
yeah.
and you should be good.
Yep. Now that we've got our sanding done of the bottom and all our putty work done, I'd like to give you a finished shot of that so you can see before we move on to the painting. So we'll go into our enclosure under here. We've done all of the putty work on the bottom of the aircraft, and what we've come up with is our final product here. Any of the white areas that you see here, that's the putty material. So we've scuffed up and gone after some of the repairs of earlier damage on the aircraft from beaching it in certain spots that were a little crunchy, and kind of beat up the bottom a little bit early on when I had the aircraft. So we've gone ahead and fixed those as well. I think we've done a really good job to give us a nice flat surface, and I'm kind of really proud of really this point right here, which seems a little crazy, but it's a very compound. This angles in, this angles in, this angles down, this angles down, and it also, of course, makes a 90-degree turn here. So that was a really tough corner to make, but we're all set, ready to go. All right, so here we are. We just finished up doing the final sanding of the bottom of the boat, plane, hull, whatever you want to call it. And it looks really, really good. We got a nice 220 grit, then 400 grit sanding of the bottom. So what do you think, Havana? How'd we do today?
We did pretty good.
We made great progress so far. It's been a long time coming, and now we're in a really good spot because we got a great shape to the hull. So we're really happy. Are you happy? I'm happy. I'm definitely happy. And we're really looking forward to getting to that primer and paint next time. All right, ready for a high five? Oh, see, I told you, that's what she does.
Okay.
She does. All right. All right, so you know the bit. Tell them what to do.
Guys, you make sure to subscribe, like the video, heart comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you
Cheers,
next time.
everybody. And also, before we go, thank you for everybody who's been reaching out through the channel, asking questions and leaving comments. Lots of support. Thank you so very much, as well as all the new subscribers who have checked on the last couple of months while we've been working on the airplane. So thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. Please keep coming back. We got more to come always. Cheers.